that gonna work? All right, there we go. It's working. Okay, hello everybody. All like 4 of you that are gonna watch this, but that's okay because I only gonna do one take because I don't want to do more. All right, so I'm gonna go over my large bug out bag, if you will, my large survival kit. I talked about my little one. I dressed up a little better for this video. Now I'm professional and you can trust me. Okay, so we're gonna just go over what I have here. And it's not complete. There's a few things I'd like to fix, but it's ready enough for me to talk about and to explain. This might take a little bit because I want to justify everything I had in here. So just before we get going here, a lot of what is here are not my ideas. These are things I've learned from various instructors over the last few years. Guys like David Wescott, David Holladay, uh, what's his name? Even things from guys like Cody Lundeen. He's famous, but we know Cody Lundeen. Mors Kochanski of Karamat Wilderness Ways in Canada. This knowledge is stuff I've gathered from a lot of different sources, a lot of different teachers. And so this is their stuff, not my idea, their stuff. I'm just presenting it to you. Alright, so with that being said, we're going to get right into it because I've got a big backpack here. It's actually only about 35 pounds, about 30 pounds. And this is enough stuff in here I could probably live uncomfortably for about a month. It would be uncomfortable, I would get very hungry, but I could do it. In fact, probably over a month. Maybe 2. It'd be a stretch though, and I would lose a lot of weight, which I don't have to lose. Okay, so we're going to hop right into it. Okay, this kit is largely designed off of things I got from Walmart because I wanted it to be something cheap, something that can be replicated easily, something everyone has accessibility to. But it's functional. It'll work. It'll do the job. It'll keep you alive. So there's 3 main things we have to worry about with survival. I talked about these in the last video, but I'm going to go over them again. You got to maintain your body temperature, your homeostasis. You got to maintain hydration, and you got to keep your mental game intact. If you can do all 3 of those, you're fine. You are fine. You're going to survive the situation because food is really low priority in survival, unless you're in the cold. If you're in the cold, it's a whole different ballgame because you need calories to maintain body temperature. And that goes back to maintaining homeostasis. Whatever it takes to maintain homeostasis. Here in Arizona, in the desert, I don't have to worry a ton about cold, so food is a pretty low priority. Over in Colorado, up in Canada, where you are freezing your butt off, you bet food's going to be a much higher priority because it takes calories to maintain body temperature. But for my intents and purposes, food is not a high priority. That being said, I do have quite a bit of food in here, and I'll talk about what I have as we go. So we're going to start from the outside, work our way in. And we'll go with this pocket first. In here I got some goodies. Oh, let's pull it out. Okay. Alright, so I've got probably about a dozen cotton balls in here. Half of them are soaked in petroleum jelly, half are not. These are fantastic fire starters. One thing we forget a lot is we have our stuff to make fire. We got matches, we got steel matches, you got lighters, you got hand drills, you got all this stuff coming out of your ears, but you don't have anything to light. So this is my tinder, my tinder bundle right here. Petroleum jelly soaked cotton balls with other cotton balls. They light up easily, they burn for a long time, and you might be in the rain, you don't know. You're trying to get a fire going. This is a quick, cheap, easy way to make sure that will happen. So I've got that. Those are double bagged to keep them dry. I've got a signal mirror in here and a little emergency blanket. I talked about emergency blankets in the last video, so I'm not going to go into them too much right now. I'll just say they are great for shelter building. Fantastic for building shelters. If you want to learn about how to make a really cool shelter with them, look up the Mors Kochanski Super Shelter. It's incredible. You can be in below freezing temperatures outside, and inside will be 80 degrees, just from a couple emergency blankets and a clear plastic sheet. Incredible. So go learn about the Mors Kochanski Super Shelter. And ideally, I would have 2 of these blankets. I don't. I need to go get a second one. And let's see, what else do I have in this pocket? Okay, I've got a steel magnesium match here, lighter. I've got a normal cigarette lighter, and then waterproof, rainproof, windproof matches. How many proofs did I say there? All the proofs. The matches work regardless of what you do, and they do work well, even though they're from Walmart. I tried them. They're hard to put out. You can't blow them out. They light easily. They are good. So I've got all those in another plastic bag because I want to keep my fire stuff dry. Okay, and that's that pocket. So we're going to go to the other pocket over here. Over here is my survival knife. Survival knife. That's a whole can of worms. We're not going to go into that. I talked about a good knife in my last video, but this is a knife from Koala Tree. Their survival knife. It's not actually a particularly good survival knife. My good one's coming in Amazon in a bit. So I'll tell you what's wrong with this knife. Its size is good, but the problem is it's a hollow grind. So the blade, it comes in very concave-like, and then sharpens to a tip. So you have this kind of weird double curve thing going on with the blade, and that weakens the blade. Out in a survival situation, you're carving wood most of the time. Wood's what you're working with. You want a Scandi grind, not a double blade, not a double bevel, not the typical real short, shallow bevel that's on most knives. You want a Scandi grind. That's the best edge to maintain in the wilderness. It carves wood the best. That's what you want. My other problem with this knife is that it is stainless steel. Stainless is fine, it does the job, but the problem is stainless is very hard to sharpen. Very, very hard. And they have come a long ways with that. It's not as hard as it used to be, but the challenge still remains, unless you want to spend billions of bucks on a good knife, which you don't need to. If you get a just good, cheap carbon steel Scandi grind knife like what Mora knife has, you can be fine. Just take care of your knife, keep it dry, and you don't have to worry about rust. Remember, carbon conquered the world. Carbon steel is what let the pioneers, what let ninjas, what let Mongolians, what let all these different people conquer everything. So remember, carbon is fine. You just have to improve your skill and your ability to take care of it. Okay, what else is in that side? Okay, I have got 100 feet of paracord right here. And inside of each one of these strands, there are 7 more little strands. So I actually have about 700 feet of cordage here. So that is a lot of rope. And you can never have enough rope when you're surviving. Never have enough. It's good for shelter building, for trap making, like all the uses. So that's over there. Do I have anything right in here? Oh, I do. I got more paracord. And let's see what else is right here. Okay, here we go. This is my water purification kit. So here's my little rant about filters. I do not like filters. And here's why. One of my instructors, David Wescott, he has a friend that works in the filter building industry. And he described filters as this. It's like a sponge. Everything goes through the sponge, comes out clean, right? Which means you have all this bacteria building up in the filter. And this guy, his company tests filters to try to break them just through common use to see if they do. And they have never had a filter not break. So what happens is your filter is used, it clogs up too much, it breaks, and then suddenly you have this massive amount of bacteria all at once coming into your water. And you might not know when that happened. So I look at filters and I think that they are something of a high risk, a lot of maintenance to maintain, and I don't want to mess with it. So the nice thing about filters is they're a quick way to get clean water. They are instantaneous, they're easy to use, they're soft on your stomach, into the bacteria in your stomach. They do have their good points. My problem is just that they're breakable, and I don't like things that can break like that, especially in my survival kit. So what I have here to purify my water is just chlorine, just bleach. You put a drop, it's about 2 drops per quart of water, and wait 20 minutes, boom, the water's clean. Might even be able to get away with 1 drop. The upside is it kills everything in the water. It's dirt cheap. It's completely reliable. It always works. The bad part is you might still have to filter your water to get out some of the grit and the sand and the bits of leaf litter in there. The dead bugs might be in your water. And the chlorine is pretty rough on your stomach. It is. It has a tendency to mess with your uh, gut bacteria, but it works. It is effective. So that's what I'm going to be using. I've used it for a long time, and if I'm surviving, it'll do the trick, because getting Giardia in the wilderness really sucks. Okay, what else do I have in here? There we go. I have a little compass. You can, if you're really good, you can get by without a compass, because there are ways to learn to tell north and south based on what side of hills things are growing on, the direction plants have oriented themselves, where your prevailing winds are coming from, obviously the sun, the patterns of the weather. There are ways to get around without a compass, but it is a good thing to have. I'm going to recommend you have one, and that's why I have one in here as well. And not all compasses are created equal. You gotta learn that too. A lot of your Walmart ones are junk. This one is from Walmart, but it's actually worked out pretty well for me. I've used it on a lot of treks, and it's been fine. I'd like to upgrade it, get a slightly better one, but for now, it's plenty good. We got that right there, and I think that's all of my little pockets on the outside here. Let's delve. This might be a longer video, so bear with me. We got a lot of material to cover. Okay, here we go. So I have 3 large trash bags in here. These are so useful. You can use them as a poncho for yourself, or when it rains, you can use them to help build shelters, use them to carry water. The list goes on and on and on. They're small, they're compact. Highly recommend having some of those. Plus, it's always good to have something to carry things in. That's a big challenge when you have in the wilderness, is you don't have a bucket, you don't have a bag. Now you have 3 of them. And with a little duct tape, you can have a lot more of them. Okay, so we're going through there. Okay, and here I've got some water. Okay, let's be real, this is not a ton of water. And these are very cheap water bottles. In fact, they were $1 each. But the point of this kit is to get you far enough to get to a good base camp. So I've got these, and then I've got a third one in here as well. Where are you at? Okay, there it is. So I got 3 of these. That's all I could fit in my bag, so that's what I'm carrying. And that's really what you can do with water. The best you can do is fit what you can in your bag. And I didn't pick these for any particular reason. I guess one good thing about them is because they are clear, you can actually purify water by letting it sit in a clear container in the sun for, I think, about 72 hours. Might be less. You should Google that. I'm probably wrong. Google that one. But I know you can purify water by letting it sit in the sun. So that is one good benefit about having clear ones. Alright, and with each one of these, I would do about 1 drop of chlorine per bottle. Let it sit for 10-20 minutes, and that should take care of any impurities in the water. Although, if you are using chlorine to purify water, I do recommend you take the cap off of your bottle for those 20 minutes. Let some of the fumes escape. Your water won't taste as chlorine-y and won't smell bad. Okay, this is a pretty low priority item for me, just because of my background. I didn't have a headlamp for most of the survival stuff I've done, but a headlamp is a very good thing to have, especially if you find yourself getting stuck at night. Ideally at night, you're not going to wander around because that's a hazard, it's a risk, and you're trying to minimize as many risks as you can. But it is a good thing, might help you get found. So I have a headlamp in there, and here's my kitchen. Little steel cup. It's about 2 cups of what it can have in it. It's about 2 cups big, volume-wise. Just a very cheap little steel cup. This is stainless steel. Your kitchen should be stainless, because rust is not good for the body. And in here, you can cook all kinds of food. You can cook. I'm not even going into all the things you can cook, but this is plenty big, and you need something to boil water in. You ever try camping without being able to boil water? It's a nightmare. This is just one of those things that you just cannot get by without. And you can, but it is rough. Now, it's clean on the inside. The outside here is blackened. That's a good thing. Turns out that if you let that black carbon buildup around the outside of your steel cup, it creates little tiny dimples all over the surface of your cup, making it quicker to boil. So that's why the outside is dirty, inside is clean. Because like Jesus said, the inside vessel's got to be clean. We'll work on the outer one later. So that's my kitchen. And what else do I have here? Okay. I have. This is overkill, but it's what I have, so it's what I have. It is a 9x12 super heavy duty plastic tarp, 4 mil. And the limit, the uses for this are off the charts. I can build shelter, I can build water containers, I could wrap myself up in it, I could build ponchos, I could potentially even build a boat with this. The list just goes on and on and on. It takes up so little space. So I'd highly recommend having some form of heavy-duty plastic cloth in your bag. Yeah. The list, it goes on and on and on. So I've got that in there as well. 9x12 is probably a little big. Ideally, I would go about 6x8 maybe. But yeah, in fact, I could probably go by 4x6, and that'd probably be fine too. But I have the space. This is what I have, so it's what I'm going to use. Okay, and now we're going to get to the food. What did I bring? This is my food. My food is not pleasant, but it is sustainable. It will keep me nourished, and it will get me through. Remember, this is survival, not camping. Survival, not camping. Survival, not pleasant. Camping, pleasant. Survival, not pleasant. You are trying to survive. Camping, you are trying to have fun and be comfortable. So, what I went for here is calorie density. As much as I could get cheaply. This is all off a budget. I'm not rich. Off of a budget. So we'll just go through what I have in here. Okay, I have 2 quart bags of flour. I've got about a pint of brown sugar there. Got about a half cup, maybe a full cup of salt. Salt is very important. Salt is so underrated. You cannot process water in your body without salt. You need salt in your diet to maintain hydration. Because if you drink and you don't have salt in you, you can actually drown your system and die of overhydration. It's happened before, called hyponatremia. Have salt, that way you don't get it. So there's my salt. I've got some baking powder in here, so with the salt and the flour and the baking powder here, I can make some pretty nice ash cakes, and those are nourishing, they're filling. I could even make hardtack with them. That lasts forever. In fact, hardtack, they were using hardtack in World War II that they'd had since the Civil War. So hardtack is good forever. I can make that using this. And it's just simple, cheap, but heavy, nourishing food. Ideally, that would be wheat flour. It's unbleached white flour, but it's what I could get. So I would recommend using wheat. It's a little heartier, a little heavier, a little better for you. And now we get to the meat and potatoes of what I have in here. I have that much rice, and that much lentils. Good old rice and lentils. It is all the rice and lentils. Now, why did I choose rice and lentils? Well, combined, they create a complete protein. So they are cheap, they are nourishing, they are filling, they are full of energy and protein, and they all expand a lot with water, so this amount of food will last me a long time. Off of what I have right here, I could live very comfortably for probably about, if I'm eating like 3 meals a day, yeah, 2 meals a day, I could probably go 2 weeks on it fairly comfortably. If I stretch it, maybe a month. I would lose weight, not be very comfortable. But overall, it should be able to carry me if I were really, really spanning it out. I might be able to go, it's hard to say until you do it, but I would hazard a guess at a month and a half to 2 months. It would be about the outside edge of that. So, who knows? It might be more, might be less, but These are a great source of nourishment, nutrition, protein, good, cheap camping food, survival food. It's just very dense, and that's what you're looking for, calorie-dense foods. I also have a bunch of spare plastic bags in here because the worst thing ever when you're camping is your food bag pops. It's the worst. So I've got the spare bags in there, and my food bag is just a bunch of Walmart bags together. Not ideal. Ideally, I would have a specialized cloth bag or rubber bag to keep my food in. It's what I have. It'll work. Okay, and let's see. We'll go for my final big item in here. That is an 8x10 tarp with some paracord attached to it. Tarps are the best. You can make such a good shelter with a tarp like this. I've been through major monsoons underneath shelters made out of these. I've been totally fine. Snowstorms, rainstorms, you name it. Just a little tarp like this and some good know-how and knowledge. I'll probably make a video about shelter building later, and you're gonna be living the high life. So that is my shelter right there. That combined with the plastic tarp and the survival blankets, and I could be really set. Again, it's about knowledge. Ultimately, none of this gear is any good unless you have knowledge to back it and to make it work in your favor. So finally, the most expensive part of this was way too much. I'm not going to tell you how much it was, but a good first aid kit, a good field first aid kit. So I'm going to get all this other stuff out of the way so I can really go through everything I have in here and why I have it in. So let's get my food out of the way. The brown sugar, I have brown sugar in there just because I want to be a little nice to myself. And then also, if you are stuck out somewhere, or you're on a trip with somebody and someone is like hypoglycemic, or you find someone that's fainted because they're diabetic, hypoglycemic, anywhere in that spectrum, one of the first things you should do is try and rub a little sugar in their cheek to help revive them. So sugar is actually a good thing to be carrying with you. So we got all that over there. Let me move all this out of the way. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the first aid kit. Alright, I have this double bagged in 2-gallon bags because this is something that really matters. Because odds are, if you're stuck surviving somewhere, it's because you got lost or you got hurt. Maybe, who knows, things are crazy. Maybe you had to run away. I hope not. The odds are you got lost or you got hurt, so a first aid kit and a way out or a way to survive while you stay put really matter. So there are 3 main things that cause people to get hurt out in the wilderness. Okay, 3 main injuries people have. Things like immobilizing injuries like a broken leg, a sprained ankle, things of that sort. You get burns. Burns are so common, especially cooking around a fire. You're camping, you're dealing with fire. Burns are very common. And then cuts. You're working with a knife. Nature is full of sharp, pointy objects, especially here in Arizona where the plants are covered in thorns. So you've got to be prepared mainly for those 3 things. And that's what my kit is geared towards. And a few personal hygiene items. Hygiene is really important out in the wild. Yeah, we could do a whole video on that, but we won't. So for now, I'm just going to pop my head in here. First, I have a little pair of tweezers. I don't need to explain that. Tweezers are good. You know why tweezers matter. Splinters, enough said. Okay, here is my duct tape. Wrapped around a toothbrush holder and a toothbrush. Because you know, I want to be a little clean. Yeah, I'm surviving, but I want to be a little clean. Give me a break. And that duct tape, so useful. So useful. I wish I could put more in here, and I might find a way to do that later. But duct tape, you can use it to repair shelters, repair bags, help make water containers, help hold wounds together. The list goes on and on and on. Incredibly useful stuff. And not all duct tape is created equal. Get the good stuff. Okay. So I've got a ace wrap bandage here for sprained ankles, sprained wrists, and the like. Also would help stabilize the leg if you did break something. Okay. Let's see. Okay, in this bag here, I have got iodine, little Advil tablets, emergency burn gel, and triple antibiotic ointment, and some alcohol prep pads. I'm just going to tell you what I have because to explain why I have it would be good for would take too long. Go take a first aid class, go learn medicine, and that'll tell you what all this is for. And you don't need me to teach you that. There are plenty of other better, more reliable sources for that. Okay, and I've got super glue in here. Incredibly useful for closing up cuts in emergencies. Okay, and actually I will talk about the iodine real quick. So, contrary to popular belief, you do not want to clean a wound with alcohol. Alcohol kills all the bacteria, yes, but it kills all the good cells too, so your wound will not repair as easily. Iodine cleanses, it gets all the nasty stuff, so it's good for cleaning right around the cut, right around in it, around it, just right there. Use Neosporin in it, and then around the whole area there where you're trying to touch the bandage, use your alcohol prep pads to get that area ready. So I've got that in there. I've got a bunch of extra bags in here, and part of the purpose for these bags, this is one of my favorite things. Heidi Heydrich taught me this trick. You take a plastic bag, you cut a little tiny hole in the corner of it, you fill it with water, suddenly you have a pressure jet for washing out wounds. Very useful. I've had to do that a few times. It works very, very well. Got some gloves in here, because getting somebody else's blood on you is the worst, is not good, lots of risk involved there. I've got an instant cold pad in here for burn treatment. Burns are bad. You don't want to get burns. Okay, let's see. What have I got in here? I actually will open this one. I've got a new skin spray. Honestly, you could get by without that, but it's just nice, just handy. Good for those spots where a band-aid won't stick. Which if you're working with knives, you're going to cut your knuckles a lot. And band-aids don't stick there. But honestly, really the best thing you can do first aid kit wise is know your knives, know how to use your knife well, learn how to walk well, and take good care of your health. Like if you do all of that and be careful, then hopefully this first aid kit is all redundancy. Okay, I got gauze pads up the wazoo in here. Large ones, small ones, including some tampon pads. Now, that sounds goofy, but tampon pads are designed to absorb ridiculous amounts of blood while being flexible and moving. So they are incredibly good to have in your first aid kit. They absorb so much blood. I really should get some of the like cylindrical ones because they are great for stopping nosebleeds. I've had to do that before and they work very well. So that's in my gauze kit there. I've got a wide assortment of band-aids right here. Large ones, small ones, some butterfly closures. All the good things right there. And I've got 3 gauze wraps here. Yeah, I got that much in there because when you start wrapping, that gauze goes really quick. And if you're trying to stabilize something, you have a larger wound you're trying to hold together, you want to have a lot of gauze to wrap with. So that's what I've got right there. And I've got some first aid scissors right there. My final thing I have in here is a variety of tapes and some splints for fingers. And I wouldn't have those splints in there, but I've actually been on trips where I had to splint somebody's finger out there, and so that would be very important to have. So that's what I have in here. Something I do want to add to this first aid kit is steri strips, because if you make a deep cut, steri strips are amazing. They will hold it together better than anything else I have here. So, except maybe the super glue. So steri strips are very good. I'd highly recommend having some of those. And then with these 2-gallon bags, those are useful for a ton of things too. Collecting water, making fish traps, holding all of this stuff, collecting food, edibles. The list goes on and on. And that is my first aid kit. I think I have one more thing. Oh, there it is. And the most important item of my kit. The mighty, the powerful, the bandana. Now these are the most underrated things ever. You want to prevent burns around the campfire? Have a bandana. You want to keep your like face covered in sandstorms or around other people because of COVID? Bandana. Uh, you want to help hold the shelter down, but you don't have any stakes. All you have are rocks. You tie a rope around the corner of bandana, use it as an anchor under the rock. Boom, bandana. You need a filter, instant filter. Take your bandana, you fill it with gravel and sand and rocks and charcoal. Boom, instant filter. The bandana is the most awesome thing ever. Quick tourniquet, it does everything. So I'd always recommend having at least a couple of these. I've only got one. I should upgrade it to 2 or 3. But bandanas are incredible. And that's my kit. And I feel good about it. It's all stuff I've used before. What my past few years of experience have taught me, working as a survival guide and instructor of other guides with the Anasazi Foundation and working with a couple other colleges, helping teach up at BYU, Idaho, and just from what my teachers have taught me, I feel good about it. But ultimately, the bottom line for any survival kit is your knowledge is what you have learned. Knowledge is costly. So if you want to take the time to go and invest in survival knowledge, find good, credible people, good sources, because there's a bunch of really crappy survival guys out there. Survival instructors. And one of the problems is we don't have any way of accreditation. We don't have any way to go to a governing board and say, here's what I know. I am therefore good at survival. No one can say that. There's no governing board of survival instructors, so somebody could be teaching absolute nonsense like Bear Grylls. That guy, if you were in any other field, he'd be sued for malpractice because he's teaching terrible stuff most of the time. And that's just one of the challenges. You have to really pick and choose where your information is coming from. So find good people, good sources. And remember, it's not complicated. It's simple. You're just maintaining homeostasis, staying hydrated, and keeping your head game together. The best way I've heard survival described by anyone is if you can. This was by David Holladay told me this, but he heard it from somebody else. It was if you can take a nap and make a cup of tea, you are surviving. If you can do those 2 things, you're fine. So your kit should be geared around being able to do those 2 things. And again, that'll change depending on your location, your region, your area, what your weather and climate are like, and your skill level, your knowledge level. And that's about what I have for you. You are free to disagree with me, free to agree with me, whatever you want to do. This is what I like, and I'll probably refine it as I go along. That's it, and that's all I have for you. So hopefully that was good enough, and enjoy the rest of your wonderful lives.